Whereas with the state, first of all, the only people that get in are elected, so there's a weeding out process.
Yes, a weeding out process that basically just shows who can lie the most convincingly. You see, your precious democracy contains a fundamental flaw. It's the fact that voting is not a contractual agreement. It's not like you can take your vote back if you don't get what you want. So all this creates the incentive to do is for people to tell whatever lie it takes to get into office, and voila. You see, that's the thing. Like I said before, evil people like power and will always seek it. So what are they going to do when they have a state? They're going to try and get in and tell whatever lie it takes to do it. You see this happen all the time. Don't try and tell me you don't. I mean, we've seen it right here with our own premier, who promised he wouldn't jack up our taxes with the HST, and then did exactly that 10 days after he was elected without even pausing for breath. So seriously, stop trying to make that argument. It's pathetic. Let's be realistic here, folks. Voting is begging. Have some pride in yourself.
Second of all, there's an intersubjective consensus that says, if someone's doing something wrong, they can, there's policies and procedures in place that people, the intersubjective consensus agrees that, okay, we have a recall petition going on for our mayor right now because he violated his promises in his campaign.
Oh, yes, the state holds people accountable. I was wondering when you were going to make this argument, and believe me, I'm about to make you wish you didn't. So, the state holds people accountable, does it? Let's see. George Bush starts events that cause millions of needless deaths from both Americans and from the Middle East, and completely drains your economy dry. Let's see, is he in jail for that? Nope. What about the Clintons? What about their war crimes? Nope. What about the Vietnam War? Is anybody in jail for that? Nope. What about the war on drugs? Millions of people dying and wasting tax dollars and giving the police the authority to break the door down of anyone they want to? Nope. What about bombing of Hiroshima? Anyone in jail for that travesty? Nope. Well, maybe it's just America. What about China's Great Leap Forward, which caused one of the worst famines in human history? Anyone in jail for that? Nope. Are you seriously kidding me? All the worst crimes in humanity were done by states, and the vast majority of them got away with it scot-free. Seriously, what a ridiculous thing to say.
Law without force is impotent, Blaise Pascal. Force without law is tyranny. It's the corollary.
You mean the same Pascal who told us we should believe in God just in case he turns out to be real?
Happen. Human nature dictates it thus.
Oh, thanks for reminding me. I was planning on doing a state myth debunked video about that, so I guess I'll take this opportunity now. So humans are inherently X, Y, and Z, are they? There are three fundamental problems with this. First of all, modern science would beg to differ on that. There's no evidence indicating humans are inherently violent, inherently irrational, or anything. The only thing that humans inherently are is adaptive. So to make a statement like that is like looking at Eskimos and saying humans inherently live in igloos. No, when they live in an environment like that, they live in igloos. In our case, when we live in statism, a society that's built on irrationality and violence, people inherently will be irrational and violent. It has nothing to do with something dead wired into your brain. Second of all, by making that argument, you just admit that you yourself are evil, irrational, and so on and so forth. So really, why should I even take your word on that? And thirdly, even if everything you said there was true, that would be a terrible argument for statism, because the people you're electing are also X, Y, and Z, and thus... I mean, come on. Think, man.
My dad even said in that one video where I was, having that conversation with him, he says anarchy would last 2 seconds. Because someone will come up and impose their will by force or threat of force within 2 seconds after the collapse of any government.
Wow, surprise, surprise. A sadist who thinks if he just keeps repeating something enough, it magically becomes true. Seriously, man, you can't just keep saying that. Give us some evidence or be silent.
You guys shift your definition of anarchy.
No, we don't. We just have to keep correcting you because you keep trying to slap the anarchy label where it doesn't belong. And here's how it is. It's very simple. What defines a government? Money and power, a lot of people guess, but no, that's not true. Bill Gates has money and power, but nobody calls him a government. The defining trait of a government is they are an organization who retain the monopolistic right to initiate violence. Emphasis on the word initiate. That's very important. So, Anarchy or not anarchy comes down to two simple questions. One, do you think that violence is immoral? Two, do you believe that any person should be granted the right to initiate violence? If your answer to the first question is yes, and the second is no, congratulations, you are an anarchist. You might deny that, but that's how it is. There you go.
And completely swear fealty to a tribal warlord, you will get killed.
This is going to blow your mind, but what you described is exactly what you live under right now. You see, what do you think would happen if one day you decided, you know what, I don't like this state, I don't like the way they're running things, I'm just going to withhold taxes, I'm just going to have nothing to do with them, and just lived your life peacefully and cut them out of your life? What do you think would happen? You'd be sent threats in the mail. If you ignore them, you get to goons with guns knocking on your door. If you ignore them, they break down the door. If you try to defend yourself, they will shoot you. Seriously, just because it's in fancier costumes and has papers beforehand doesn't change that.
You're not going to be able to do voluntary groups of more than about 200, 250 people because of psychology.
Brace yourself, boys and girls. Here comes the doozy.
Human psychology, we're not capable. We are simply not capable of managing more than 250 people in our social network, in our brain. So as new people join in, we drop other people out. It's amazing how, you bring in a new big group of friends, you stop hanging out with the other people. It's a matter of time and energy, but it's also a matter of keeping track in your own head. We can't keep track of more than 250 people.
So, a study finds that human beings are not able to really keep tabs on more than 200 or so people. Okay, it sounds about right. So therefore, we need to elect an elite minority to not only keep track of more than 700 million people, to run their finances and indeed their lives for them? My friend, if you didn't just shoot yourself in the foot, you blew the whole damn thing off.
You couldn't have it more than 200, 250 people because the structure of our own brains wouldn't be able to handle keeping track of those people and make sure that they're doing everything that they need to do in order to live in that society and not be a leech.
Oh God, I can't take this anymore. Stop. Ugh. The rest of the video doesn't really give us anything new. It's just the same. It's just the same old, same old. It's already been made very clear that anarchy is not a solution. It is the rejection of a false solution. Statism has had 5,000 years to make its case, and it still hasn't done it. It still has not delivered the utopia it promised. I mean, look at the U.S. government. 1930s, they said they would eliminate poverty, they'd have health care for everybody, they'd have jobs for everybody. And how well is that working out for you? It's not. Even though they have 40 times more money and more power than they had back then. They tax you, you are taxed for more than you ever have been in history. Their government has more regulations and more authority than it ever has in history. And yet the utopia they promised is still not here. Why not? Answer me that. Why? It has every possible tool it could possibly need to succeed, and it still can't seem to get its act together. You tell me right now, why? What's wrong? What's missing? I'll tell you what's missing. Some sensible ideas behind it. It's ultimately all just based on the idea, enough violence and you get peace. It's completely ridiculous. It can't happen. But if you still think it can, if you still think that statism can work, here's what I'd like you to do for me. I want you to go all out. Seriously. I'm telling this not just to Eagle here. I'm telling it to everybody. If you still, despite everything, if you still think statism can work, go all out. Donate your time. Donate your money. Get people involved. Get active. Do absolutely every single thing in your power to make it work. Hold nothing back. Why do I say that? Because that way, when the state does inevitably collapse anyway, as it's inevitably going to do, the numbers just don't lie. When it all falls apart anyway, maybe then you'll finally be out of excuses. And when that day comes, maybe, just maybe, we can build a new society on some much more sensible ideas than pointing guns at people. Until next time, be aware and be wise.